Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I started getting ready to make this video probably a half an hour ago. Well, I haven't shut the door, but I don't think that'll matter. And then I couldn't get some things to work, and I tried some different ideas, and in many respects, that's what this whole process has been about. And I'm going to show you a few things so that you'll understand what I was working on and how I got to where I've ended up. Okay? Also, I don't know how much of the outside noise you'll hear. It's raining again. We have had more rain in June than I can remember in a very long time. But that's okay. Here before long it'll be hot and we'll be without rain. And we'll be trying to figure out what we want to do about keeping things from dying. Okay, last time we met, I pointed out that one of the things I was waiting on was for different flowers to bloom, and we worked on these cards. These are part of the big project you see over in they're here on my YouTube channel, Random Crafty Axe. And if you want to see the rest of them, where we're at in the playlist, you just click on the title of the channel, and that'll bring up the Random Crafty Axe page. And then you click on the playlist, and you'll find the one that is same theme, different cards, I think is what I ended up calling it. And I don't even know what number this one is at this point. I think it's 6, 7, 8, somewhere like that. I started out with this as a big project because I needed to make at least 30, though it's looking like closer to 40 cards. And I wanted them to have a similar theme, but I wanted there to be some variety. And in that process, I talked about having a certain color palette. And I talked about using the flowers for my garden. And in the last video, we were looking for a flower that would fit in here. And so I thought I would try a couple that I took between rainstorms. That's going to have to be cut down, but that's all right. I can do that. I don't know that any of those are exactly what I'm looking for, so we're going to wait to put those on. And especially since this is the smaller of the two that I take. This is the one that's 2 by 2 1/4, and these are 2 by 2 3/4. Okay, so we're still waiting on that. So I'm going to set these aside. And these are the ones where we use the stamp on the watercolor paper, and wasn't really quite as happy with that as I wanted to be. So just to catch you up, what we ended up was doing it on white 65-pound white cardstock, and doing ink blending on the background, and then using the background stamp over the top to get the look that we wanted. Okay, and what I said I was going to do in the next video was either use a stencil, which oh, there it is. Let's use a stencil on one of the pieces of paper. That's my air conditioner. And what you get with a stencil is something like this, okay? So you put the stencil on your paper. I think I can kind of get it to line up. All right. And then you take your Archival ink or whatever kind of ink you're using, and you take a blending brush or whatever kind of blending tool you're using, and you put ink on it and you rub it over. Okay, and you get just this image on your page. All right. The first thing that went wrong in this was that these are, this started out as 4, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, these are 4 by 5 1/4 pieces, which are what I wanted for the front of the card, for the base mat, or the base mat. Okay. None of my stencils fit that. So with this one, for example, I put tape down and tried to make this smaller, with the idea that I could put this here, or maybe that I could even cut this down and do a multiple mat situation on the front. And while that all looked possible, it wasn't coming out the way I wanted it to, okay? Even though these colors were close. The other thing I mentioned in that first video when I talked about the project was you have to look at, it's good to look at how many cards you're planning on making and when you want to mail them out, so that you can figure out how much work you want to do on each card. So while stencils would have been an option, I could have figured out some way to make this work. I don't know really what that was. I could have shifted my card design. I could have gone back through my stencils. What was obvious to me when I was using stencils back when I was doing art journaling, and they just don't really, the ones I have don't really fit what I was trying to do, okay? So this is what it would have looked like if I could have gotten this to fit this better, and it may have been an option. And I did some general blending on here, and I will not obviously be throwing this away. I may end up using this before this is over. Okay, so we're going to set that aside. So the next option was to do something with what's referred to as an embossing folder, and you'll see me moving things around as I'm talking about this. So embossing folders, they squish paper, okay? And they have an embossed side, that's what this side is, and they have a debossed side, that's what this is, okay? And you can ink on either side and get an interesting pattern. And I had this one. This is the embossed side, okay, of another stencil that I've got, or embossing folder that I've got. And this is the debossed side. All right. I was looking for leaves, all right? And the thing was that in using this, I was getting a white background with, even if I put green on top, was not what I was looking for, okay? So imagine that with green instead of red. Not what I was looking for. I don't know why. Usually I know when I know it when I see it. All right, so the next thing I did was I started pulling out my green color cardstock. And there are two colors that I find almost impossible to deal with in finding the exact shade when I'm working with color cardstock. Green is one, purple is the other. Blues, yellows, reds, while they may be off just a little bit, they are a little easier to match up for me than those shades. And one of the reasons that putting this video together took so long was I have a lot of cardstock, and obviously none of it was the right color. So I was really up there digging through everything I had and comparing colors, and I tried these two. And what I did was I ran these through put them in the embossing folder and run them through. I'm going to show you how that works in just a moment. And then I would take one of my flowers and I would put it on, and it's look, not quite right. And then it's look, not quite right. This has just a teensy bit of blue in it, and this is just the wrong color green. Okay? So I finally came down to this, and I have only a few sheets of it, so we're going to make as many of these as we can. I did dig through my stock of color cardstock that I bought a couple of years ago, maybe even last year when we were shopping. We were on a trip, and when we go on a trip, we stop at every Michael's and Joann's that there is, because I'm kind of limited around here, and sometimes it's nice to actually look at something. So one of the things I was watching for, you can see on this one, this is some cardstock that is what's referred to as white core. That means that there is color, dye, or whatever they put on it when they make it color cardstock on the outside layer, but not on the inside layer, so that when you emboss it, you get little pieces of white because it's pushing through and peeling away the color. This cardstock is solid core, meaning it's green all the way through. I don't know how they do it. I don't need to know. I do know that this tends to cost more than that, but this tends to do what I like. I have watched people take an embossing folder and specifically take white core so that they can press it down and get white images on the color cardstock. It's an approach and it works really well, if that's what you're going for. Okay, so we have this. So we're gonna do some work. All right, this is what we want. Let's set that over there. All right, so the first thing is cutting the background pieces, and not that you need to watch me cut paper, but this one is a 4 by 5 1/4. This piece is, I've already cut it to 5 1/4. So I'm gonna cut this at 4. And then we'll have 4 of these. And we'll probably take the stack I had yesterday that I put all the pieces together. Remember we went through and put all the pieces together with the white and the black. We'll take the white pieces out, which we'll obviously use for something else. Let me set mine. Because when I took this, I put this one up in the corner. I put this one down here. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. How amazing that is. And then we put the black background on it. And it's just a dream. It's a dream come true. Okay, and I think I have enough of that green. If I don't have enough, I didn't really want to know just yet. Okay, sometimes you just need to be happy for a little while, and this is one of those times. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to bring in my Sizzix Big Shot. This is not the big shot, this is a little big shot. Okay, typically what you do with one of these is you make, they refer to this as the sandwich. You have these clear mats. They're the cutting mats if we were doing die cutting. That's why they have little impressions and scratches on them. You have a mat like this, magic mat, if you get into this, okay. Magic mats save your life. They are worth every penny. You get them at scrapbook.com. If you don't have these, you use 2 of these and they end up getting warped and you have to keep replacing them. Okay, magic mats are wonderful. Now, if we were die cutting, we would put our dies on top of our paper and we would run it through like this on top of our standard platform, okay? But we don't need it to be that thick. So we're gonna take this adapting plate out because we're gonna be putting this in here in its place, okay? Let me just set that over so you can watch me line this up. All right, this is an embossing folder. They make a couple of different kinds. Different companies are thicker, thinner. There are some that are called 3D. They're beautiful. They do some amazing work. When you use one of those, you have to spray your paper with a mist of water because otherwise it breaks the fibers down too much. Okay, and cuts your paper apart. All right, so you just line that up. All right, we're gonna pull this back in over here, and I'm gonna stand up and make sure we're in frame. Oh, yes, we are. Stand up to do this. All right, the other hint is you set it crooked. And this, you'll run it through, and then when you do the next one, you flip it over, and that helps keep them flat so you don't have to replace them as often. All right, and then crank it until the embossing folder has gone all the way through. There's a big roller in underneath here. Okay. And I'm not going to do all 4 of these this way for you. I'm going to do 1. Okay? And then when you take it out, look at that. Isn't that amazing? And like I said, we could do what we're getting ready to do on either side, but we're going to do it on the raised side. We're going to use my Dollar Tree mats because this is a little messy. All right. Using green on green is referred to as tone on tone. I have this color and I have peeled paint. I've tried both. I don't see any difference in the result. If I used a blending brush, it would come down in there, and you want a light touch. So you really want to move across this like you're skating on ice, okay? And you're watching for some of your raised images to start to darken. And then you turn it, okay? You don't press down real hard because you're just trying to get the ink on that raised place. And this is where you kind of make a judgment call as to how dark you want it. And what I'm watching for is these leafy bits, all these different leafy bits. I kind of want them to stand out, particularly around the edge, because I already know I'm putting something in the middle. Okay. All right. Archival ink doesn't take long to dry, but I always give it a moment. Okay. You don't really need to watch me do another one of those, but we have two. All right. So we're going to do 2 of the cards. All right, so we had this stack together to do. This is our 2-sided card. Let me see if I can find one. So of course I can't. That's the other one. These are our Happy Summer cards. Okay, this is our 2-sided card. So we're going to do one of those first. Okay, this was the card kit we put together. It's got everything but the sentiment. These are the 2 pictures we're going to use. We're going to remove this white piece and set it over here in our let's put our stuff there box. Set that aside. All right. So we can make the design decision as to whether we want to do it this way, which I think is maybe what I want to do this time. Okay. And then I've got a happy and a summer in my box over here, being obstinate. Okay. Okay. And we can put the happy summer in there, and then we'll put it on the black. All right. Now, because you have raised edges, you want to make sure that you're pretty liberal with your ink, okay? Because otherwise it just sticks at the top. I try to get these just as close up in the corner as I can. Okay, same thing here. Oh, look, it has stopped raining. I have to pay attention. I may get a call to go outside and look to see if we can see the rainbow. If you are interested in seeing what our garden actually looks like over on this YouTube channel, the Random Crafty Axe, if you click on the title of and go over to the main page and then click on playlist, there is a playlist called Garden Walk, and I've started uploading videos of the garden so that you can see what it actually looks like. Okay, this is the other thing. See how this is debossed? How you've got so I try to be really liberal with my glue. And again, I use Barely Arts because it works for me. There are several brands out there that people use. And then I do this because I get a little wiggle room. Make sure I get my, oh, that is so pretty. Look at that. And it almost makes this, looks like they're standing up on there a little. There are some other flowers, as you saw in the first pictures, that are just starting to bloom. And it's really amazing. And as I said, the thing about daylilies is they last one day, which means if you want a picture of them, you got to get them. Look at that. I am so happy with that. Okay, let's try the other one. Other end of the stack. And we're going to use this, I don't even remember the name of it. He tells me the name of them all the time. That they all have names, which I think is kind of cute. Okay, so this we kind of put in the center, and we use the larger, but not the largest of the sentiments. The other thing I like about this particular embossing folder is these images are not really directional. They're non-directional, and you can, you don't really have anything that turns out to be upside down. And I noticed that I don't have as many of these as I thought I did, but the small ones will work, so I'm not too worried about finishing up the batch, or I'll just run another sheet of them through my silhouette. It's a teensy bit crooked, but you know what? I'm pretty sure when somebody sees how beautiful the flowers are, they're not going to care. And I usually eyeball it. I don't, you can like line them up on the grids, and there are tools you can buy, and I bought some and they didn't work very well for me, so. Okay, so this has taken us from watercoloring to ink blending to embossing folders and background stamps. So that's several different techniques. Each of the techniques we've worked with does require a little bit of a financial commitment. Until you start working with embossing folders, you can do it with minimal tools. You can do background stamping with an acrylic block like I talked about and showed you. I use a stamping platform because I'm kind of picky about how my images turn out, but oh, look at that. That is just amazing how it brings out the green in the picture. Yeah, that is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Okay, so I'm not going to embarrass myself by trying to remember how many of these I have, but what I will do, not on camera, is work up the rest of these and put them together. And then we will start going through and looking for, like, look at how neat that's going to look. Oh, the white one is going to look so great. That is just going to look fantastic. These are kind of rare. Okay, so when I do that, I'll make sure I show you that in the next video. All right, if you have not already subscribed, I would appreciate it if you would. I donate all of my cards to Operation Gratitude. This project that I'm working on, we usually have so much stuff I like to put in the Christmas letter at the end of the year that I thought this year I would do a summer letter, so that the Christmas letter I could focus on our traveling, and still, you know, make sure people knew how beautiful the garden was. So what I do though in my videos is I always put a link to Operation Gratitude so that you can look and see what kind of work that they're doing and see what the donation page is. And if you're a card maker, it's one of the options that you could use to make cards and donate them. They have several ways to make that easier for you. So if you would subscribe and like, that increases how often YouTube will put my videos out there for people to see. And that's my way of trying to increase the number of card makers who find their way to Operation Gratitude. So I would appreciate it if you would do that. Other than that, I think that takes care of us today. See this nice, neat mat? We're on our way to bigger and better things. I'll see you again soon. Thank you.